Hey guys, today we're gonna take a look at my Scion template for bow scaling and Uber farming. I call this a template because we are using Lacerate, but you can use almost any meta skill with slight variations and still do all the content available right now. Why choose Scion? If you have fought the Uber at least once, you probably realize that something in the fight can be really hard to manage, especially if your DPS is low and the fight drags out. Another thing is the degen ground. Both the equal degen ground coming from the Elder Tentacles and the cold degen ground coming from Shaper can overwhelm you in the latest stages of the fight. It's important to know that those two grounds can stack and will do an absurd amount of damages if you end up sitting on both at the same time. So how do we deal with that? How do we counter that? We use Slayer's Leech. Slayer's Leech doesn't stop our full ass, it's the key point in helping us deal with that degen. Having Slayer's Leech gives us the ability to stand on either ground without degening too much and gives us more freedom in the fight. Going Slayer wouldn't give us a lot of damages though, since the small node are for 200 weapon and the main nodes are more efficient in the mapping context. You may have the 20% more damage from Headsman at some point in the fight, but it's really hard to rely on it. The improved rate of leeching would help, but I felt like the Scion's smaller version would be enough, as the really important part of it is life leech effect aren't removed at full health. Because of how much health both Uberalder and Shaper have, it's like having 46% life regen per second, because the Vial Pact and Leech are on 3, during all of the fight. Speaking of Slayer's node, it's important to note that Uberalder can't get killed on the last phase, so that point would be pretty useless here. Now that we have decided on what the first ascendancy is, we need a second one. Remember that the idea of picking Scion is to have more damage than Slayer's ascendancy. We have a few choices here. Rider, Assassin and Inquisitor are the main ones. Rider would be nice for friendly charges generation and permanent onslaught, but with my current 4 it's not really necessary. As far as assassins go, it's really nice to have a higher crit chance, mainly because of the slight base buff damage on the crit chance, as well as poor charge generation. It doesn't beat Inquisitor damages though. Inquisitor gives us plenty of damages on the ascendancy node because of the penetration for elemental damages, a crit multi if the enemy has an ailment on him, which won't really be often, but still is nice, and the increased damage taken if they are near, which is all the time. It increases the starting area if we decide to take the path of the Templar, which we did. Gives us a good amount of life, AoE for clearing, damages, and a bit of resistances, which really helps on the unique EV build. The points above, and mainly because of the ascendancy, is the reason why I call this a template. Having Slayer's Leech is basically the only thing you need for Uber bossing, and a good boost to your damage can come from Inquisitor, Assassin, Raider, or even Deadeye depending on the sort of build you do. As I said earlier, my skill choice for this ended up on Lacerate, and the way to deal damages on elemental stacking, and more specifically on Abyssal Jewel stacking. The reason for Lacerate is really simple. It's a decent skill that got a slight quality of life improvement with the removal of the less attack speed penalty. It's close to an hybrid of Reave and Blade Fury, making it decent for clearing as well as single target. It is however slower in clear speed than Reave, and deals less damage on single target than the perfect time Blade Fury, keep that in mind. It's a simply all around good skill, kind of a jack of all trades if you want. Lacerate is also interesting because it's limited to sword and axe, allowing us to abuse dual wielding. We do this by using Doriani Catalyst in offhand for a massive boost to elemental damages. To have as much flat damages to scale, we stack Abyssal Jewels. To do that, we rely on almost full Abyssal unique sets, except the helmet, with 2-socket Tomb Fist, which gives us Intimidate, as well as Bubonic Trial and a Shroud of the Lightless. The chest gives us elemental penetration as a 6th gem, which is better than any other alternative we could have socketed in. We still have 4 socket and 3 for a total of 9 Abyssal Jewels. We use a Stack on Jack because it's a solid choice usually for a crit build, and it's really nice to get an helmet enchant for cheap, as it's the base that both Slab Runner use. We choose crit chance for the consistency of it, but Lacerate damages enchant should give around the same DPS, roughly. Rest of the gear is fairly standard, Amulet being a solid damage boost as always, with crit chance, crit multi, elemental damages, and usually used for attribute requirement, but in this build we got a huge amount of pretty much all the stats, so in this case it's kinda skipped. Rings mainly here to cap resistances and get as much life and elemental damage to attack as we can, as the flat damage is taken care of by the Abyssal Jewels. Because of how much resistances we have on the tree, which is 63% with Alira, we don't need that much resistances to cap ourselves, which really helps us bring them all together at the same amount to abuse Wise Oak. We have a huge amount of resistances on Sting and Vice, which brings us closer to 50%. and we just need to fill out the rest of the resistances on the rings. I think a Wise Oak balance is a really nice boost to damages as well as resistances. It's like having 10% more HP against elemental damages. If you can't have them balanced as the same amount, you have two choices though. You can either go for the highest amount of flat damage you have on one element and try and get it the highest to have the most penetration, or you can put Cold as your lowest one, as it's the most deadly damages you can get, mainly because of Shaper and Uberelder having some of them. Our gem link are the following: Lacerate, Wed, Conk Effect, Elemental Focus, and Damage on Full Life. For mapping purposes, we swap Conk Effect with AoE, and we got an increased critical strike chance instead of Elemental Focus. Keep in mind that Damage on Full Life is really nice because it's still a leech, but if you find it slightly unreliable, you can swap it for Multi-Strike. Keep in mind that even though we have Slayer's Leech, we are not always on full life. If you get it, you need roughly 2 seconds to get back to full health if you were really low. So in that period, you'll have the full use of that gem. For our movement skill, we use Whirling Blade with Fortify, faster attacks, and Blood Magic. If you prefer, you can use Lip Slam, but I found Whirling Blade slightly faster and more reliable. For the other gem, we use Herald of Ice, Blood Rage, Ancestral Protector, and usually Wrath. This is anger because I took the gear from my other character for the meantime. Keep in mind that those are always the highest level you can, and those are just slightly lower because they are used on another character. As far as the Flasks go, in terms of importance, the Diamond Flask is the highest damage flask you can get, so try to get as much duration here as we can. The second best flask should be a Wise Oak if you manage to get all resistances at the same amount. Otherwise, an Aziri Promise is your best bet. After that, we use Silver Flask and Sulfur Flask. The reason for the Silver Flask is simply to get Onslaught. Usually we don't run Freeze and Chill, we just get for duration. The reason for Silver Flask is because on Consecrated Ground we are immune to Element Status, which means that we don't need a Freeze Flask or Burn or Shulk, we just need to press that one when we get one dose and we're basically immune to it. For our tree, we start at the south of the Scion. We take the Resistances node and we start heading toward the Duelist area to pick up some of the node. We get the Leech as well as Vile Pact and some more node and crit chances. On the Ranger area we just take Finesse and we head toward the edge of the tree. We take Herbalism, Primal Force, the Crit Multi and Crit Chance node with Spider Blade for the swords, head toward the shadow with the Earthseeker on the way, and Jewel Socket, Acrobatics, and we take most of the node on the shadow area with Force in Nature, Summonaf with Revenge of the Haunted, a Socket Jewel, and most of the node on the shadow area which are related to life, elemental damages and crits. We take some of the Scion crit multi as well because it's just way too valuable per point. We use Pass of the Templar to get the Templar area which gives us elemental damages, melee damages, AoE, some resistances and elemental damages, some more life, with some really good node which give 30 flat life, and another Jewel Socket. As far as ascendancy point go, as we said, we use Slayer, which gives us Cunning Strike, which is a nice damage boost, damage while leeching, which is on the time because of the next line, which is life, leech, effect, and not remove their full life, AoE, which is really nice for clearing, and reflect physical damage, which is nice for mapping. Inquisitor is here to give us most of the damage. It gives crit multi, penetration, and immunity to element on consecrated ground, as well as nearby enemy take 10% increased elemental damages. As far as Pantheon go, we use the Star of the Brine King for the stun part and the reduced effect of chill. For the second ascendancy point, we use Star of Marrakesh to deal with the degen ground. So if you want to know what the build did, it pretty much did all the game without dying on most of the content. I haven't done yet about the Teslas, but that shouldn't be too much of an issue once I get the fight going with that character. I got one on the run uploaded, so I'm gonna link it in the description if you want to check it out. Even though it's built for bossing, and mainly Uberelder, it's a really fast mapping character, and was really enjoyable. For people who are concerned about the life pool and tankiness of the character, I'm gonna put the POB link on the description of what you could do to improve your tankiness, and mainly go up to 6k HP. The reason I don't really want that high is simply because I didn't want to. I just didn't want to. I felt like the damage was good enough. I didn't want to invest tens of exalts into life jewel with as much damages. But if you check the POB I'm gonna send, you're gonna realize that you pretty much can get almost the same DPS with more HP if you got more money. You can also use Scam's Root instead of Boomerang Tray if you want even more HP, but you're gonna sacrifice a huge amount of damage for that. On the other hand, you're gonna be able to do the Uberelder way easier because the slow is gonna amount to nothing. That's pretty much it, guys. If you think I've missed anything, you can tell me in the comment below. I'll probably add it to the forum guide. You can always catch me on live on twitch.tv/Tiber if you want to see this build or any build I've done performing, or the following one I may upload on YouTube. Hope you enjoyed, hope you give it a try, hope it will work for you as well as it did for me, and I'll see you guys another time.